Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 in a best of 3 between YueJin and Player in the quarterfinals of the Steel Division League Code S. So after many months of the group stages of this league having gone on, we have got to the point where the 4 best players from each region, America, Europe and Asia, have come together for the grand finals to see who is the all-time best player in Steel Division. So this is quite epic, honestly, and I've been waiting a long time for these finals and to see how these players match up against each other. Now, as mentioned before, we are starting from the quarterfinals after the playoffs have already been played. So YueJin, he defeated Dnester in the first round to get here, and now we'll be playing off against Player, who got a bye through the first round due to his ranking in the group stage. So this is going to be pretty damn epic. The map today is Hill 112, and on the Allied side, YueJin is going to be using the Guards Armoured, and on the Axis side, Player is using the Festung Gross-Paris. Now the Guards Armoured, certainly well known for their use of Humbers, as well as the Stuarts. The Stuart 6s work very well, and the Cromwells, of course, the Cromwell 7 being my ultimate favourite, as many of you may know. They also have access to the Cromwell 6, which has the 1200 meter range HE, which can be very useful on an open map such as Hill 112. So all of those units, I reckon, we'll see throughout this battle. Over on the side of the Festung, it's all about the infantry, as well as the interesting variants of fire support units that they can bring in. So Landesschützen, Bewährungs, Feldgendarmerie, and they will probably support those with Panzerschrecks, and that will be something that YueJin will have to watch out for across this map, because it's very easy to get ambushed by Panzerschrecks, I feel, on Hill 112, due to their very high stealth and the abundance of random tree lines and hedgerows. The other thing that Player will have access to is, of course, the Panzers, the Panzer 40 here, but he is also going to be investing in the Panzerjägers. I just saw one on the top side there, and there is one in the mid here, accompanied by another Panzer 40. So looks like a little combination that Player's got going here. Let's have a look at the other units. The Panzerschreck for the top side, that's 2 Landesschützen accompanying those tanks. Further down we see the Aufklärer in the Panhard MG. There's also going to be the Pak 40 there, and on the bottom side we have the Panhard MG with the Aufklärer. There's going to be an IG-18. We have a Panzerschreck there, the Bewährungs and the Feldgendarmerie. Landesschützen joining in the centre. Over on the side of YueJin, on the bottom side, it's going to be 2 units of Humber Mark 3s with the Recon. Then you got 2 units of rifles and an AT gun. Further up, it's another unit of rifles with an AT gun, and on the top side, Humber Mark 3, Stuart with 2 more units of infantry and the commander. So there's a very real opportunity that YueJin might have some Bren group on his division, so we may see those mixed amongst the rifles just to hold the front line in various areas. But it looks like YueJin's going to be making a play for the top side of this map, which is not uncommon. Obviously, holding the high ground is very beneficial in any form of strategic game, and it's no different in Steel Division. When you get up here, it's very difficult to be pushed off it, because you can get AT guns into these tree lines that can cover a very large amount of ground, and just in general will be difficult to dislodge without an abundance of artillery, which is inevitably very slow and therefore will give you an advantage over time. But either way, let's get this sped up and the game underway, and we can see exactly where these players are deploying. So it looks like on the side of Player he's spreading out a little bit more than YueJin is. YueJin seems to have a rather weak middle, but a strong top and bottom to his attack, whereas on the side of Player he's spread out a lot more. He's got a few infantry for the bot side, he's got an IG and the Aufklärer for the first tier of the hill, along with the Panzer 40 and a couple of infantry, and then like just a couple units on the top side as well. So yeah, very spread across the board. But I feel like this concentrated push on the top here from the Humber Mark III and the Stuart 6 has a potential to do a lot of damage against the units that player is presenting, because a Panzerjäger 35, although it does have the 2-star veterancy with the Panzer 40 nearby, at close range the Stuart 6 should still gain the advantage, because the Panzerjäger is like a self-propelled assault gun. So that's going to be rather difficult for player to deal with if he's forced to engage at close range. However, he does have a Panzerschreck, and I mentioned how those Panzerschrecks could spoil things for YueJin quite severely. On the bottom side though, that is a dead unit of infantry straight off the bat. I think that was just some Landesschützen, but it still definitely gives YueJin the salient on the bottom side early on. PanHDMG does have a track wheel damage. Looks like the Aufklärer going to spot and surrender the rifles there after the assistance from the IG-18. So a few trades onto infantry, or a couple trades. One going in favour of player, one going in favour of YueJin right at the start. Nothing too much else to look at though. Just both players posturing on the top side. Player's going to be pushing his Beveraungs into the forest here. And Beveraungs will deal with rifles okay. The benefit is that they have more men, but the rifles actually have more HE. So over time, this will be a relatively even engagement, I feel. But if the 2v1 does occur onto the Beveraungs, then YueJin should win out. M5 half-tracks making a move. Humber Mark III is coming around the corner as well on that top side. Does need to be very careful. It hasn't seen the Panzerjäger or the Panzer 40. That's going to be an engine-destroyed Humber Mark III, and most likely a dead Humber Mark III very shortly. The Panzer 40 did start engaging the Humber Mark III in the mid, but nothing came of that. But with the Humber Mark III dead on the top side, it looks like YueJin may be in a little bit of trouble, especially with this infantry engagement, because I think the idea was for YueJin to use the Humber Mark III to support this engagement, but hasn't quite worked out as he intended. And with the Beveraungs having 2-star veterancy, they do get the better of rifles that don't have any veterancy for sure. So that's what you can see happening here, but as the other squads get involved, the Beveraungs finding themselves pinned down and will have to fall back before they take too much damage. Panzer 40 has got line of sight onto the rifles. The Stuart 6 going to be pushing around on the top side. It will aim a lot quicker than the Panzer 40. Does find the track will destroy, but can the Panzer 40 reply? Stuart 6 will have a second shot on target, will be looking for the kill, and does find it. Very nice job by YueJin there. Humber Mark III now falling back on the bottom side. Not entirely sure what happened here. Potentially the IG-18 opened up onto that and forced it back. But either way, a nice trade for YueJin. But YueJin's now going to be looking for the engagement onto the Panzerjäger, and with the Panzerjäger not having the extra veterancy from the Panzer 40, this could be quite an easy kill. The Panzerjäger managing to back off though, and a new unit of infantry has come in. The Landesschützen now accompanying the Beveraungs in this attack. But without command, player will still have to be very careful. That's 2 units of Beveraungs, 1 unit of Landesschützen. If the Stuart 6 starts hitting these hard with the 30 cals, they could get not only killed, but surrendered very quickly. Now the Landesschützen is not lasting very long at all. M5 half-track trying to take on the PanHDMG here, and a loose infantry engagement on the bottom side. But all of the action is up here, and that's a large kill there. A very significant kill for YueJin. Does take out the Panzerschreck, so no longer has to worry about dealing with that. With the Stuart 6, which is really, really good for him. These Beveraungs, though, they are under pressure. Player, I feel, should probably fall back. He is going to be getting the Panzer 40 from the mid up to the top side now to provide that command and prevent future surrenders. So that's good news. PanHDMG, they found the motorized rifles here. The IG-18 is going to be chipping in there. Humber Mark III is now engaging the Beveraungs on the bottom side and preventing those from doing too much damage in the open. But yeah, rightly so, player has now backed off from this engagement with his infantry as the Stuart 6 does get aggressive, but the Panzer 40 is already engaging. And the Stuart 6 will want to try and do something about that, but the Panzerjäger is going to be coming round here and having a go And at close range, the Panzerjäger may get the first shot off because the Stuart 6 had to reload, and that's now a weapon jam onto that Stuart 6 as it is forced to retreat. And this is really bad news for YueJin since he doesn't have any other AT up on this top side. Fortunately, there is the second Stuart 6 here on the left side, but had this been the only Stuart 6 there, all of this infantry would have just had to run for their lives with the advancement of the Panzer 40. On the bottom side, the Humber Mark III, the only thing stopping this infantry from moving forwards. There is potential, however, for this Panzerjäger to get the better of the Humber Mark III, and if that does occur, then I think YueJin could be in trouble because the infantry will be free to push forwards. The Panzer 39's coming in fast on the top side here, or as fast as a Panzer 39 can go. But that, accompanied by the Panzer 40, may be able to take on the last Stuart on like a 2v1 engagement, which would be really, really nice for player. Now, player playing the Festung Gross-Paris does have the access to the 2-star Puma, and this being a 3-star Puma with command from the Panzer 40 is certainly a force to be reckoned with, and I've seen those Pumas rack up many, many kills before. So we'll have to see if player can do that again in this game, which has been relatively even so far in the early phases. So YueJin hitting the Bevelongs and Landerschutzen nicely. Panhard MG is finally getting forced back by this Cromwell 7. Cromwell 7 being brought in will cause a lot of issues to basically all of the armor that player has access to. Player will have to start relying on AT guns if he wants to try and ambush the Cromwell 7, because that's going to be pretty much the only way in which he wins against it, unless he manages to outflank it, which is less than likely against an experienced player like YueJin. What is happening on this top side though, with the other Stuart 6 getting out of there due to the weapon jam, this one is completely isolated, and with what is looking to be a 4v1 about to occur, this could be very bad news for YueJin's position on this top side of the map. The IG-18 that's going to be covering this bottom side, now hitting the rifles once again. Panzerjäger is going to be taking on those motorized rifles briefly, but will want to back off from an engagement with a Cromwell 7 for sure. And it will automatically do so, as the Cromwell 7 does have plenty of HE to affect that low armor that the Panzerjäger has. But here we go, it looks like player's making a move, trying not to let his command go first, which is a very smart choice. YueJin has seen it coming, will be taking cover. But the Bevelongs, they're pushing through, and there's a very limited amount of infantry here now. Stuart 6 is coming around the corner. That took a wrong turn. Give me a bailout first shot from the Panzer 39. I think YueJin, instead of letting the Stuart fire, decided to try and reverse it behind the forest in time. But the mistake was already made and it was too late. The Stuart goes down and it looks like the infantry is soon to follow. And that means player's going to take control of the top side with this ragtag bunch of tanks. The Panzerjäger, Panzer 39, Panzer 40, and the Puma. IG-18 still getting involved on this bottom side. This has definitely been helping cover here, especially against the Humber Mark III that looks to have been blown up by the IG-18 in the past, unless the Panzerjäger managed to get the better of that, but I don't think so. Bevelongs, they managed to get the AT weapon to land next to the M5 half-track. That actually pinned down the infantry squad, and that caused the surrender. So nice play there, if not intentional by player. Either way, AT gun has now come into position on this top side, and any new Stuarts that are going to try and contest this area will need to be in numbers, because otherwise they will not be able to stand up against the abundance of forces that player has in position. This Pak 38 as well is just really well timed, can help player secure this high ground moving forwards. But where's this Stuart going? It's going to be charging right up into the Panzer 40 and one shot, one kill. Well played there by YueJin, if not a little bit lucky to score that one shot kill. Lovely stuff. Takes away the veterancy from the Puma, from the Panzer 39, and from the Panzerjäger. Now it looks like players almost daring YueJin to do that again with his 3 tanks now in position. But he doesn't even need to dare him to do so if he can charge him down. One thing you will have to be careful of, however, is this sort of front line and how it's shaped. It will definitely give away the fact that there's probably something in this tree line, especially after that half track has died. Now the Pack 40, that's come into the mid here. It's currently getting hit by the M5 half track and has been pinned down by the Cromwell 6. So it looks like that's going to have to back off, but over time, player is starting to get the better of the bottom side of the map, whilst YueJin is maintaining supremacy in the centre. Oh, the motorised rifles there, they fired a Piat that landed so far off target, it didn't affect the morale of the Panzer 39 one bit. These motorised rifles really letting the side down here. Can they kill at least one of these vehicles with a shot from this Piat? It doesn't look like they will. Don't even fire that third shot. But at least YueJin has a 6-pounder in position that may be able to prevent the chase from the Panzerjäger and the Puma. But if player puts his mouse over this 6-pounder and checks the range, he will see that he does have the ability to chase this Panzerjäger without being in range of the 6-pounder. Also, the IG-18 has just pinned down the 6-pounder, so that's not even a factor anymore. And the Panzerjäger on top of this hill will have more than enough time to keep hitting that Stuart 6 as it falls back and does find the kill. So the breakthrough is occurring on this top side, and with that 6-pounder out the way, these vehicles are free to move forwards. The infantry is free to move forward since the motorised rifles are pinned down. And this is going very, very well for player on this top side. But we cannot count YueJin out yet. He is a very good player. And he does have a sort of semblance of mid-control here that seems to be able to translate to the bottom side if he decides to put the pressure on. Because the Cromwell 7 just coming through this tree line here could definitely start punishing Landshoots and Bewehrung, the Panhard MG here, cleaning all of those up without any threat from any other unit, because whilst we were in Phase A, there wasn't anything else to really challenge him. But now we can see player is into Phase B, and he's going to be investing in a Marder 1. Now that Marder 1, it's going to go ahead and kill off the Humber Mark III. It also will have the potential to start engaging the Cromwell 6 and do a lot of damage there. However, on this top side, look at this, the Sherman 5 coming up. It's going to get an internal fragments onto the Panzerjäger 35. It's also going to one-shot the Puma. Very, very nice job there by YueJin. Wow, that's going to make things exceptionally difficult for player. Now he's only got one Panzer 39 holding the top side, alongside this Pack 38. The Panzerschreck also needs to get into cover if he wants to try and make use of that, because any semblance of recon from YueJin will be able to spot that and take it out if he's not too careful. So I feel like players almost playing on a tightrope, because it seems as though YueJin has like the units that he needs to really get aggressive in this game, but currently just can't quite find the ground. His infantry is being picked off ahead of his tanks, and that makes it very difficult for him to confidently push forwards, like in the knowledge that there isn't any Panzerschrecks or AT infantry that may be in his way. And well, whilst he's waiting, the Marder 1's taking pot shots at the Cromwell 7. The rifles here, they're going to unload, find the Aufklärer. Nice clean kill there. Stuart 6 in range of a Panzerschreck. That Panzerschreck dare not move, else it will be revealed. But that may be a kill that player decides to secure if he can get the Pack 38 into the edge of this tree line. Oh, it looks like the Bewehrungs go for the hit. They don't manage to secure the kill. They get pinned down and surrendered instantly. This Panzerschreck, it may be time to shine. It looks like player may be waiting to pick off the Sherman 5, which would definitely be a better target than the Stuart 6. Can this Panzerschreck do the job? Surely player knows it. I just want to keep an eye on it just in case. It goes for the shot, finds the internal fragments onto the Sherman 5. It is now dead. There is no way it survives the Sherman 5 throwing down all of its fire, but that's a disabled Sherman. Now the Sherman won't be out of action for long, since there is now the Bedford resupplying a 25-pounder. But the Pack 38 is soon to come into this tree line, and now it has This Stuart 6 and Sherman 5 are almost sitting ducks. The S307 Pack's going to come up the hill, try and take a shot at the Sherman 5. Pack 38 finds the critical ammo explosion onto the Sherman there, and the S307 Pack comes up and cleans up that Sherman as well. Crazy stuff. Epic kills, one after another. 4-player completely swings the power on that top side of the map. Really, really well played. And I was just wondering how a Sherman, which got internal fragmented with no ammunition left, had a critical ammo explosion. But either way, the S307 Pack is going to die in reply. And the Panzerjäger on the bottom side also goes down to an engagement with the 6-pounder by the looks of things. The Cromwell 7 was hiding at that point. This Cromwell 7 now trying to engage the Marder, and that Marder will struggle to continue an engagement against the Cromwell 7 because the Cromwell 7 does have a decent amount of AP against the armour of the Marder. However, the Marder's got the better of the Cromwell 7, and that track wheel damage is not helping it get out the way. So it's still very, very close, but having lost both of those Shermans on the top side, YueJin's push to regain this ground is very much delayed, and that has allowed player to now bring in a 2-star Stug, which if provided with some command will be a 3-star Stug that could be very, very deadly and stop any future tanks from climbing this hill. Now the 6-pounder that has been revealed, it took a shot at the Stug 3, will be killed with this shot no doubt, as a Stug 3 unlikely to miss with that veterancy. The Verlongs do manage to surrender a rifle squad as well, so maintaining more ground on that top side. But YueJin still in the lead with the 367 points. But players now getting aggressive on this bottom side, something he will have to make sure does not come to fruition. And something that he could definitely stop with the movement of this Cromwell 7, except from the fact that it has the track wheel damage and therefore is unlikely to be able to move into position in time. Now there is a Hummel on the field, and that is currently counter-battering the 25-pounders that YueJin has been using to pin down the fire support units of player like this IG-18 and the Pack 40 here. He's also been trying to use a 25-pounder to pin things like the Marder, but look at this advance from player. He's found a massive salient on this bottom side, completely undefended, especially with the Sherman 5 and Cromwell 7 out of position, and now with the Pack 40 coming into play. Can YueJin take it out, or is this going to be a hero Pack 40? Those 1 health AT guns that I always say make the big difference in these games. Is it going to come about once again? The Marder, however, going to get the better of the Cromwell 7 once again, forces that back. Meanwhile, on the top side, rifles are trying to advance, and there's another Sherman 5 on the way. I'm not quite sure what happened to the Stug. Oh, there it is. It's up on the top. That Stug may look for an engagement with the Sherman 5 from a distance. Marder 1 is going to be taking shots at these rifles, but I think this Marder is waiting to engage the Sherman 5. The Pack 40 also moving up, so is the Panzer 4. This is another crazy ambush play from player. Unfortunately, his Marder does go down, but the 1 health AT gun scores the kill, and that is a dead Sherman. Another dead Sherman. Oh, the Cromwell 6 soon to follow. That is nasty. And now the Cromwell 7, surely a sitting duck against a 2-star Panzer 4 that has the 14 AP versus 11 front armor. Should have a decent chance of penetration. And with this Cromwell 7 already having a track wheel damage, it's going to be hard to get out of the way should it get pinned down. The Verlongs are going to be forced back on this top side, but the Stug getting ready and in position to take the Sherman 5 on as it comes up the hill. The Pack 38 also moving into position by the looks of things. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, ROA have got into position. Befehl Panzer is going to be trying to help those against the rifles there. But here comes the Panzer 4 once again driving forwards to get an engagement with the Cromwell 7. Nice to see the Befehl BMW actually being used, the motorcycle here, to accompany and provide command for the Panzer 4. That's an interesting unit you don't see too often, but look at this. Once again, another nice ambush play. I'm not sure if YueJin just didn't see this because of the lack of recon, but he's drove his Sherman 5 right into the face of the Panzer 39 and the Stug, and he's lucky that he did not lose that vehicle, because the Pak 38, it did go down, but they all took shots there and all had chance of penetration at that range. Anyway, Panzer IV still pushing hard onto the Cromwell 7. The Cromwell 7 will have to continue to retreat. Hummel now finding more shots towards the 25 pounders, and will be continuing to suppress those. But what seems to be happening right now is, as this game continues, his player is slowly but surely getting the better of YueJin and trading just that little bit better, because YueJin has been losing a lot of his tanks. And that's definitely not very helpful for YueJin, since player can now invest in Tigers as well as Panthers if he wants to. So that could be something that we see player take advantage of in the not near distant future. So, unit behind enemy lines goes down. Befeld Panzer 35 still being used aggressively to hit the rifles here. And without the support of infantry once again, there's no way that this Sherman 5 can get aggressive. And that's just more problems that YueJin's going to have to deal with. And something that I think player has been doing very well is actually kill off YueJin's infantry, making it hard for his tanks to play more aggressive. Because we did see moments where YueJin had the potential to move aggressively, but I don't think he did, purely for the fact that he didn't have the information he needed, either from his own infantry or from recon. So that's definitely been something that's been stunting YueJin's effectiveness throughout this game. It's actually quite a common problem, but in this one more so, I think. Anyway, Sherman 5 is going to be coming up the hill once again. It looks like it's going to be risking an engagement against the Stug 3, and that's not going to pay off. 14 AP at like 600 meter, 700 meter range. That was a serious amount of AP versus that 11 front armor. Solid 17, I believe. And it's very unlikely that this Stug is going to miss. So you've got to time that Sherman 5 attack perfectly, and in this case he did not. So the Sherman goes down, and it leaves another big gap on this top side where the vehicles may be able to exploit it. This 17 pounder is currently holding fire because it does have eyes onto the Panhard MG. But with the Panhard MG just moving so aggressively forwards, it might just bump into the 17 pounder, reveal its position, and then player can work around that with the Hummel. So I think this is a fair use of the Panhard MG here, but it definitely will reveal that position of the 17 pounder, and that's going to be a one-shot kill onto a 25 pounder. That is nasty. Hummel takes it out with one shot. Now we'll be targeting the 17 pounder. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Panzervernichtungs going to be joining the ROA here in an engagement against rifles. Now the Panzer 35 is out of range to provide command onto the ROA, so the ROA, I think, very lucky to still be in this fight, because otherwise they would have been surrendered. Just holding on by the skin of their teeth, do manage to secure that building once again. Panzervernichtung is going to be able to move up this tree line and force the Firefly and Sherman 5 away. The Hummel has managed to pin down the 17 pounder, and players slowly but surely finding an answer to everything that YueJin is throwing at him. The Tiger E is also in position to engage the Firefly if he likes, and there's also going to be a Panzer 39 that's fast moving towards this Firefly. I'd love to see this Panzer 39 sort of ambush the Firefly and shoot it in the rear as the Tiger comes around the corner to engage it in the front. That would be a very, very nice play indeed, and I would not be surprised if players thought about it. Black 88 now going to be coming in with the SDKFZ7. And, well, not too much more coming in on the side of YueJin. He's trying to invest in more Shermans, but I feel like it's got to the point now where he could never have enough Shermans to hold back what player has in his arsenal. And the Panzervernichtungs, they've been allowed to get into range of the Firefly. This is very, very dangerous here for YueJin. A little bit lazy, if I'm honest, because I believe he knew the Panzervernichtungs were there, and it was a very real opportunity that player would play aggressively with those in order to try and find a kill. So that is disappointing, but YueJin, not seeing a way out of this, is going to surrender, and after 25 minutes and 9 seconds is going to be defeated by player in the first game. Wow, that was certainly an interesting one, because early on it was very, very even, but then slowly but surely it seemed as though player set up a set of plays that allowed him to ambush the important tanks and find those victories over the Shermans, which opened up ground and sort of left other areas of the map undefended. So very, very nice, methodical play, I believe, from player. And 1,880 kills to 1,050 losses is definitely significant. So early on, the Stuart 6 did really well. It killed off that Panzer 40 with that quick shot up the hill. But afterwards was overwhelmed by the amount of units that player brought in. And player finding the weapon jam initially onto the first Stuart left the second Stuart out to dry. The Cromwell 7 here, it really didn't do enough. It killed off a Panhard MG and a Landerschussen. I think this could have been a little bit more aggressive, but like I mentioned before, player had a lot of YueJin's infantry pinned down and killed off before the tanks could do anything about it. And that meant that the Cromwells couldn't make the aggressive plays that they otherwise should have in that position. Sherman 5, it managed to clean up the Puma and the Panzerjäger nicely. But then the Shermans started falling down. You can see that the Pak 40 on 1 health managed to kill off the Sherman 5 and Cromwell 6. All they need to do, guys. The Hummel one-shotting the 25-pounder is not something you see very often. Stug 3 killed off another Sherman 5 there. But yeah, the amount of Sherman 5s that went down in this game is not pretty for YueJin, and certainly lost him a lot of ground. Anyway, that's it for the first game in this best of 3 between YueJin and player in the quarterfinals of the Steel Division League Code S. Hopefully, you guys are looking forward to the second game between these two, and we'll have to see if YueJin can bring it back to 1-1 in order to increase his chances of moving on to the semi-finals. But until then, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.